Doing this morning? Turn to your neighbor and say, good morning. That might start off well there. It's great to be able to share with you this morning. The focus this semester has really been on his ways. Matthew has to share with us, come follow me, Jesus said, I'll make you fishers of men, which is helping us understand more about following and obeying. I believe the Lord has laid something on my heart this morning from Nehemiah. If you have Bibles, you're going to turn there and turn to Nehemiah. We'll share the scripture passage. But when we make a commitment to following Jesus, that commitment isn't a one-time pledge, but it is a lifelong pledge. And as you and I both know, that when you commit to following Jesus, you have now put yourself in the crosshairs of the enemy, of the one that is going to now combat us and come after us. We've put ourselves squarely in that path. And the tactics are really pretty simple. The enemy tried to kill Jesus a few years ago, and that didn't really work out well for him, did it? So his tactics really are about you and I this morning. The tactics of pretty simple, just get you to stop following Jesus. That's all I got to do, is to get you to stop following Jesus. The goal is simple. And it's not a surprise to us. I don't think anyone's shocked this morning. I don't see any, oh, really? I had no idea. No, we know that. But somehow we are surprised at times by the attacks. We're surprised when we get attacked. We're surprised, especially when we're not expecting it. Isn't that true? I'm surprised that, why is this happening now? Why am I facing this now? And we end up getting into a place where we kind of complain about our issues and our trials, and we always seeking to get out of trouble. Like, I want to get out of this trouble. I want to get out of this trial. But this is actually the ploy, the attack of the enemy. And we know that, but we're still at times shocked. At least I get shocked at times. I don't know about you, but for me, I can handle the big stuff just fine. If you were to come up to me now and say, Jay, your house is on fire, I would say, here, grab my iPad, throw that in there. It's insurance. I get a new one. Like, I really wouldn't care much. But if I was driving down the road and the construction happens that says I can't turn left and I need to turn right, I am ticked off. How many ever find that? Just the little things. It's the little things. You could have just been walking and you trip over a part of a curb, or you're just mad. It's the little things in life that somehow get me. And the enemy knows that, and so basically he might not attack me with big things, which he has done that, but he's always going to attack me with the small things. We know the saying, right? It's true, that when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. You sound like the Time to Make the Donuts guy, for crying out loud. Make lemonade. I don't feel like making a soft drink when life's handing me lemons. I just want to share that with you. Maybe you're a little bit more spiritual than I, but when life hands me lemons, I want to squeeze that juice in someone's eye. That's what I want to do. I'm not thinking about making a nice little drink for myself. I'm not. I'm thinking about squeezing that juice into someone's eye, and I really want to cause some pain and heartache in someone else's life. When you are doing something God has called you to do, the voice of dissent gets louder. It does. It's simple. It's a simple attack. It's a simple ploy of the enemy. All I got to do is distract you. I got to upset you. I got to get you mad. I got to get you to stop following Jesus. That's what I got to get you to do. And so we know that the scent gets louder. Turn your Bibles to Nehemiah 6, and I want to share with you this morning how Nehemiah was able to deal with the scent, what he did, and who he is. Nehemiah chapter 6, verses 1 through 9. I don't really read these names too good. I don't really like these guys, so I'm going to change their names to Sandy, Toby, and Gesh. That's just my name for them. So Sandy, Toby, and Gesh, the Arab, they kind of made sure they put that in there for certain reasons. And the rest of our enemies found out that I had finished rebuilding the wall with no gaps remaining. I mean, the enemy knows when you're doing well. Anyone doing well this morning? I mean, you're feeling pretty good. Classes are going well. I got A's. Everything seems to be falling in place. Someone's shaking their head. No, I do not have A's. I got B pluses. Okay, we're shaking our head yes on that. Okay, good. Thank you so much. I'm feeling pretty good. And when you're feeling pretty good, I know and you know what we can expect. Though he had not finished putting in the doors, Sandy and Gesh sent a message asking to meet at one of the villages in the plain of Ono. But I realized they were plotting to harm me, so I replied by sending the message to them, I am engaged in a great work, so I can't come. Why should I stop working to come and meet with you? We're going to get to that. 4 times they sent the same message, and each time I gave them the same reply. The 5th time, this message was a little bit different. There is a rumor among the surrounding nations that Gesh tells me that is true, that you and the Jews are planning to rebel, and that is why you are rebuilding the wall, according to his reports. How many love it when someone lies about you? Just smile at me real big. I love it when someone lies about me. How many love it when someone doesn't tell you the truth? How many love it when someone's telling someone else about you and it's not the truth? You feel like getting that lemon and squeezing it in someone's eye, don't you? It's not the truth. He knows this. I want to jump down to verse 8. I replied, there is no truth in any part of your story. You are making the whole thing, making up the whole thing. They were just trying to intimidate us, imagining that they could discourage us and stop this work. The Lord has for us as children of God, as followers of Christ this morning, to do a great work. To do a great work that he has planted in place inside of us. It's amazing to get all of us in the room today because there's a uniqueness of the callings that God's placed in our life, which is different, but there's a sameness, which all of us are called to follow Jesus. And as we're on the path of following Jesus, there's going to be dissenters. There's going to be those who are looking to constantly come after you. There's going to be lying about you. There's going to be things that happen to you that you just flat out don't like. And I love it when it's sunny and 72 degrees, but I hate it when it is raining on my parade. The voices of dissent are going to get louder. And there's something that we see in Nehemiah. Man, there's this tenacity inside of Nehemiah. He says, I'm not going to stop doing the work, which is AKA, just know this, I am not getting off this wall. I'm not getting off the wall. I'm not going to stop doing what God has called me to do. May when those dissents that start to rise up in your life, those that may say what they want to say, those who may do what they want to do, when everything around you is not sunny and 72 degrees, when life feels like you're in that moment where it's not going well and you're doing a work for the Lord, just don't get off the wall. Don't. If I'm going to learn something from Nehemiah today, is I'm not going to stop doing what God has called me to do. May we learn more about how to follow Jesus. So this is it. Following Jesus equals facing the enemy. Listen, these tough things, they just don't sit well when I'm talking about how following Jesus now means I'm face-to-face with an enemy. But people around you are going to want you to come down off the wall. They're going to want you to stop serving Jesus. There is those in our lives right now who are actively doing it, and I want to share this with you. No one likes it when someone is winning in an area of life they are losing in. I'm telling you right now, you're going to have those. I thought you were a Christian. I thought you were a follower along with me too. And yet you're doing this, yet you're saying this. And there's going to be that tendency for us to get off the focus, which is doing the work of God, to come down off a wall and start getting eye to eye. There's an old saying that I remember my mom saying to me growing up, which is like, you can't pull someone up, but they can sure pull you down. I mean, she'd say it over and over again. It's pretty annoying, to be quite honest with you. But anyway, people want you to stop working. They want you to stop progressing. They want you to stop being healed, stop being renewed, stop having the life of fullness in Jesus, because your obedience just increases their conviction, and they want the conviction to stop. Man, I'm in a place where I don't have the full support of those that are around me. Yeah, you might not have the full support of those that are around you. In this instance, there was constant attacks that were being brought upon Nehemiah from these guys. They are the lies that were meant to bring this wall down. So here, I want to share this with you. They are cutting deep. You know when something is so not true and it cuts deep. You know your reaction and my reaction is, I will see you in the alleyway. It's there. 5 minutes. Let's go. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not a hugger, I'm a fighter. It's the other way around for me. There's those who might want to hug it out. I'm going to want to fight it out. I want to duke it out. Let's go right now. You said what? What'd you say about me? I mean, have you just read some social media posts over the last week, right? Someone says something, you talking about me? It gets rough real quick. And you get in this place where that's going to stop you because the deep cut really hurts. And it's meant to frighten us. It's meant to discourage us. And these guys were here the whole time. Man, I'll tell you right now, you need to read Nehemiah. If you really want to be a fantastic leader, then read Nehemiah. He was an incredible leader, and there's so many principles that are found in this passage. Listen, Nehemiah was facing this voice of dissent. Nehemiah 2:10, Nehemiah 4:1, Nehemiah 6:1. These guys were constantly there, and you and I would like God to take care of the battle for us. Get me out of the battle. Take care of it, God. Because I don't like this. But he faced it and went through it. It will never go away. So if I were just to say, don't get off the wall. Turn to your neighbor and say, don't get off the wall. Turn to your other neighbor and say, you too. Don't get off the wall. Face the battle. And we would feel this morning, I can be a Nehemiah. If I were to end right now, which some of us would find very pleasurable, if I were to end right now, we make our ways out the door, we'd be walking away and say, I can do it, man. When I face the battle, when I face those who talk bad about me, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to be like Nehemiah. I'm going to stay on the work of God. I'm going to focus. I ain't getting off the wall. Yeah. But I want to share with you that if we walk out the doors, we've learned nothing. Just looking at what Nehemiah did does not teach me anything. Looking at his response gives me a glimpse of who Nehemiah was, but it's only a glimpse of who Nehemiah was. Who was Nehemiah? I know what he did, and it's easy for us to chant, to come up with maybe some cool slogan or phrase to say, I'm not getting off the wall. We have t-shirts printed. By the way, they're out there for sale for $19.99. We have bumper stickers that are made. We have our catch slogans. We're saying, I'm not getting off the wall, and we're walking out, and we're in triumph, and we're shouting, we're saying, we're going to be just like him. No, you're not. You're going to fall flat on your face just like me if that's all I point to is what he did. Who is Nehemiah? Who is Nehemiah? What was the man? What made him who he was to stand on the wall, to say, I'm not getting off the wall? That's what I want to learn. That's what we need to learn. Walking away by saying we're going to do it does not help us. So what I want to do is I want to break down a little bit and share on the fact of what helped define Nehemiah that can help define us. So when you face what Nehemiah faced, you will stand as Nehemiah stood. So here we go. Nehemiah 1:11 starts to talk about this guy, Nehemiah. It says that he was a cupbearer. Does everybody know what a cupbearer is? You know, he's a cupbearer. Let me explain it to you. For those who might not know what a cupbearer was. And Nehemiah 1:11 kind of talks about who he was, and then it says he was a cupbearer, and it's kind of referenced in there, and you're kind of saying, well, what is all that about? He's a cupbearer. His primary responsibility was to taste the wine before the king or eat the food before the king. I mean, there was kind of two things that were in there, but it was mostly taste the wine before the king, and if you died, then he wouldn't drink it. How many like that for a job description as soon as you get out of school? Hey, I just want you to know I need a youth pastor, and I need a cupbearer. What's the cupbearer? Well, you're going to taste things before I do. If you drop dead, then I know not to drink that. I mean, what kind of man signs up for that job description? When you do research on Nehemiah, you're not going to find out how he got this job specifically, but I want to share with you what kind of job description is that. Hey, I want to take out our code of values, and I'm going to take out our culture, and I'm just going to boil our job description down to this. Drink if you die. Thank you for doing that so I don't have to die. That's a really bummer of a job description, man. I don't know if I want to. As a matter of fact, this is a high prestigious position. Can you imagine people fighting and clamoring over the position of cupbearer? I mean, can you imagine someone saying, oh man, Nehemiah's got the best job on the planet. I hope he falls down dead so I can have his job. Man, I don't think I want that job at all. I don't want that job description. Let me share this with you, man. I'm a little bit impatient. As I was growing up, I had this tendency that when my mom was in the kitchen baking, she was making cookies or pies or whatever, I would kind of sneak in and grab a spoon, and then while her back was turned, right there, and I'd get a big old scoop. And I get a scoop of that chocolate chip cookie dough. I get a scoop of that. Maybe I was kind of the inadvertent cupbearer. I just wanted to test. My mom would say, stop it. My mom had a high-pitched tone. There was no normal voice. Stop it. And I'm like, what? She's like, stop eating the cookie dough. And I'm like, Mom, I'm just making sure it's good. That was my excuse. It was a lame excuse, I know, but it was my excuse. One day I came in the kitchen, and on the table was chocolate mousse. Somebody? I hate mousse anyway. But I grabbed a spoon, and I quickly, when my mom's back was turned, I put it in there, and I put it in my mouth. She turns around and goes, oh! And I started to taste something different. This wasn't mousse. This was cat food. My mom put together the cat food in this little bowl, and I thought that it was mousse. And I instantly puked anyway, but I'm not going to really go into those details. I probably wouldn't have been much of a cupbearer. I'll probably tell you that right now. I would not have been much of that. Seriously, you're in captivity. Matter of fact, here's this, which is kind of funny. If you think about this caveat of who Nehemiah was, he was a part of this people group that your predecessor carried away into captivity. You're actually trusting this guy to make sure that you don't die. God has this plan. Nehemiah was very accustomed to something. What I saw about Nehemiah is this. If you're a cupbearer and you're drinking things that could potentially kill you, and you actually enjoyed that job description, and there you are as known as one of these chief people, you must have a lot of faith. You must have a lot of faith. And Nehemiah, what he was showing us in his lifestyle and who he was that he was a man of great faith. Of faith and trust in God. He had to be a deep man of faith. Can I share with you something today? If you're going to be the person who does not get off the wall, you need to be a person of deep faith. As a matter of fact, the circumstances that we go through are just refining us for the moment to stand on the wall. As a matter of fact, as he was a cupbearer and he was in this position that was a high position, very prestigious, but at the same time, it would have been a position that would have potentially caused his death. That he was a man of much faith. We need to be a person of faith. Do you believe in what God said he would do? Do you believe right now that maybe your job really stinks, but that God has you there? No teachers or faculty, please don't raise your hands. How many would die? I mean, you're in a position where you had a job and you're like, I can't wait to quit. You literally counted the hours. You're there and like, quit. Can't wait to quit. You start making songs, you know what I mean? I can't wait to quit. Can't wait to quit. I just hate this job. Can I share with you? Maybe God put you in a job to further refine you. Maybe it's the refining that's needed. I'm not sure where this is going. I'm not sure. Yeah, you're not sure? Welcome to being a follower of Jesus Christ. The land of unsure. Enter into thy rest. Holy cow, you mean to tell me I can't bank on anything? Yes, you can. You can bank on Jesus. The rest of it, who knows? For all those Myers-Briggs J's in the room, you're freaking out right now. You're trying to figure out, oh, wait, I got a schedule that Jesus needs to keep. No, he don't. He's teaching you faith. Why am I in this class? Don't wave your hands. You got teachers watching. Profs are here. Why am I going through this? Teach you faith. Get you ready for the wall. Get you ready for the dissenters. To get you ready to follow in the footsteps of Nehemiah. The defining faith. Nehemiah 1:3-4 says this, that they said to me, things are not going well for those that return to the province of Judah. This is a report that came to Nehemiah early on before he was there rebuilding this wall. The people were in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem had been torn down and the gates had been destroyed by fire. When he heard this, he sat down and wept. He wept. And it's not you. Listen, and when I was growing up in my home, guys don't cry. You know what I mean? Like when you're a dude, like you don't cry. There's no crying in baseball. There's no crying. There's no crying in life. There's none of that. No, you don't do that. So I grew up in a home where, man, my dad showed me, like, you never cry, man. You hit your finger with a hammer, you say a lot of other things, but you don't cry. You know what I'm talking about. You don't cry. You don't weep. His first reaction wasn't like, well, how dare they, and in righteous indignation, stand up and walk out there and say, I'm going to go build that wall if this is what's going on. But he actually knelt down and wept. People who returned from exile were in great hardships, and he saw that there was economic depression, that there was suffering from oppression, that they had persecution, that they were defenseless, and he saw that in the people, and he began to weep. People with needs are all around us. There's desperate needs. Can I share with you that the activity of proclaiming the gospel message is about us seeing the needs of those that are around us? It's not about the job in which I have to do. It's about the refining of what God is doing in me. And then as he's refining me, I'm starting to see something I've never seen before. I'm seeing hurting, lost people. I'm seeing brokenness. I start and began to weep. This is where Nehemiah is. Tough guy. Nehemiah, tough guy. Weeping. Can I share with you? Weep. We need to weep. We need to pray. You're thinking, man, that's just really not encouraging at all. It's not telling me what I really like to hear. There are single mothers of destitute. There are children who are physically, mentally, and sexually abused. There is poverty-stricken. Those who are hungry, thirsty, homeless. Those who are unemployed, lost jobs, widows. I mean, the list goes on. There's masses and masses of people who are lonely, who are empty. Masses of people who are diseased, who are injured. Masses of people who do not know the Jesus that you and I have the privilege of knowing this morning. And that should cause us to weep. To pray. I'm telling you, I know this sounds really weird. Men and women, compassion has to be that step of refining. It can't be about just righteous indignation and anger that gets us to a place to do something about the evil in society. But it is the person who weeps and feels what he felt, which was compassion. I'm not really a compassion guy. Can I share it with you right now? I learned it really well. My wife teaches it to me. I want you to know if I'm driving down a road and I see someone's pet on the side of the road not moving, I laugh. I know I'm trying. It's terrible. It's terrible. But there's those of you here, you kind of like, yeah, I get you, man. It's like, usually what I do is I drive down and I'll see maybe a cat over there sleeping by the road. And I'll go, where's my cat? As I drive by. Just by myself, I just say that. I know, I'm not a man of deep compassion. I want to share that with you right now this morning. I'm just not. When the compassion started to come, definitely in ministry, when I went on a trip to Philadelphia and there was other schools that were represented there and I was reaching people in Philadelphia and I saw that. And it didn't make me mad, it broke my heart. And when it broke my heart, it caused God to refine me to get me ready to stamp on the wall. I was in Pittsburgh, and they were doing this outreach in this low-income, depressed area, if you will, and we're having all these kids that are around us. This was years back, and we're doing these human videos, and we're working with kids' ministries, and it was absolutely amazing. There was like 100-some-odd kids up, packed, people everywhere, summertime. It was awesome. Did a show, ministered to kids, prayed with kids. It was awesome. This kid comes up to me, and he says, hey, can I have a quarter? Now, you all know that Peter really taught us a little bit about things in ministry like silver and gold I have none. Like I was ready to say that, like I'm not, but what do you need a quarter for? Well, there's this lady over here and she's charging a quarter for a hug. I said, what? I'm telling you right now, man, my heart's starting to move with compassion. So I need a quarter for a hug. I said, wait, back up, man. You mean to tell me there's a lady charging you for hugs? She's like, a quarter a hug. Do you have a quarter? I said, man, I'll give you a hug for free. He steps back in shock. He's like, what? I said, I'll give you a hug for free. All right. And I reach down with my big long arms and I just start hugging this little kid and I'm rocking him back and forth. And I look and I can see the kid kind of like, get off me. And I was kind of like, dude, you said you wanted a hug. And he said, no, a quarter for a hug, the drink, you idiot. And he said that just like that, you idiot. Now, some of you might not know what a hug drink is, but it's this little barrel-looking thing. And it's full of sugar, and it tastes so unbelievably nasty. And I want to share with you, as a man who doesn't know how to share and show compassion, every time I do it, it stinks. It's the worst time. I look at a kid, hug the drink, you idiot. This little kid, I almost want to slap him. I went from compassion to anger pretty quick. I'm like, boy, you don't know me. I'm like, I'm ready. You want to go in the alley? I don't care if you're this high. I gave him $1. I said, get 4 hugs and get out of my face. And that's exactly what I said to the kid. Got the $1 and he ran away to go buy some hugs. I'm not a man of compassion. And when I show compassion, it's usually at the wrong times. Probably to the wrong people. Who knows? But God's got to move your heart to compassion. I got to have a deep sense of faith, and I got to be moved to compassion, broken with compassion. Your ministry field will never experience the Jesus through you until you learn to have compassion. Your heart has to break, and it has to ache. You have to weep. We see in Nehemiah 1:4-7, this was just continuing on, that he mourned and fasted and prayed to the God in heaven. Nehemiah was devastated when he heard the walls of Jerusalem have come down and that no one rebuilt them and that his home, it was in shambles. So what does he do with this news? he fasts and prays. Listen, you're not going to be able to handle the antagonist, the dissenters, the way the enemy is going to come at you unless we know how to fast and pray. We have to learn how to fast and pray. It was something I've been learning and continue to learn. To know that when there is brokenness and my heart is moved with compassion, may I begin to fast and pray. May we learn how to lament. Oh my gosh. Just a lament, to be able to cry out to God. And it's interesting you see that it was a confession. Listen to how Nehemiah starts. He says this, even my own family and I have sinned. Do you know who Nehemiah was? Didn't we just talk about it? Nehemiah was like the Billy Graham of the day. You know what I mean? He was spiritual. And his first response is talk about how he and his family have sinned. When you start getting on your knees in prayer, the first thing that actually starts coming to your mind is the things that you need to repent of. It's amazing. Spend time in the prayer. Get compassion. Get a broken heart. And you'll start seeing what God sees. Start praying the way we're called to pray. He was the Billy Graham of the day. We need to see the disobedience in our lives first before we can rebuild any wall. Listen, let's back up the truck here for a second. Go back to the beginning. Just look at this with me. We're talking about, man, let's be the champion on the wall. Yeah. Let's be that person like Nehemiah says, I am not coming down. I am going to fight my way through it. I'm going to rebuild this thing. And then we back up to who is the man, Nehemiah, that was created for that day. Right now, today, Jesus is doing something inside of you to refine you, to get you ready for that day. But you need to allow the refinement to happen and to seek God on the knees following after Jesus to say, teach me, help me, refine me, prepare me for that day. We need leaders like we've never needed them before. We need leaders. We need people to stand up. There are men and women of God and say, I am going to lead. And if you're looking to lead, you need to follow Nehemiah's example. It can't be just about standing up in that big moment. It's the preparation for the big moment. Third thing I want to share with you, I want to close with this. Really is the humility defined his prayer life. So we're saying, what was this man Nehemiah? Who was this man Nehemiah? He was a man that really understood the journey he was on. It was about building faith in his life. He wasn't complaining about his job. He wasn't complaining about what he was doing or where he was going, but he had much faith. Students, we know I have to have much faith. Faith that God is going to do something in me and through me, but my thing in front of me, I might not understand. Trust me, as you go along further, you will be in a lot of situations that you don't understand. There'll be a lot of situations that we just don't get, that we just don't understand. And when you get to that situation, it'll be so easy to say, look, I got a mind of my own. I am not tolerating this anymore. I am out of here. Without seeing that possibly the place that you're in was designed by God for the refinement of you. Refining you. You see that there was the compassion that he felt, the brokenness of his heart, and the humility that was showed in his prayer life. We need to humble ourselves. I can't share that enough. I will say this, I'm probably one of the most arrogant men of all time. If there's any constant struggle that's been, it's not just praying for others and having compassion, it's always seeking to have myself number one. When you get on your knees and you start praying, it always starts to turn with, you know what, forgive me for that, God. And forgive me for that. Get me, I know that there's something you have for me, but it's not for me, it's for you. And you're refining me to get ready for you. I mean, all of us would have that dream of holding a microphone and talking to the masses, or being some important figure who wrote that book, to be some communicator or speaker, which everybody wants a ticket in the house to go see and hear. But all of that was only brought about by the refinement of the person to understand that it was never about them. It's not about you. It's about him. Nehemiah stood on that wall, and there's times I can see it. This scripture passage has gripped my heart for the last 6 months. I'm constantly reading it because I see him standing there, but not in an act of arrogance or anger or pride, but a confidence, a vigilance of the understanding that God got me ready for this. I'm not coming down. Don't get down. be like a Nehemiah, but maybe learn from who Nehemiah was, not just stand upon what he did. Do you want to look into the eyes of the enemy and say, I'm not getting off the wall? This year has been the most trying years of my ministry career. I had experience this year where there's times I've definitely got down on my knees, not to pray, but a little bit more complain. What the heck, man? I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. I don't want this. I didn't even do anything to deserve this. But if you want to get on the wall, you allow the refinement to happen. Because if you allow what he's preparing in you now, you will be able to do what he's called you to do. Everyone stand up with me this morning. I've heard those messages from several speakers throughout my lifetime. Pastors that have pastored me in my life, I've heard the message. I've heard the focus on the wall. I've heard this many times, but something different came out of this for me. Allow life's circumstances build in you faith, compassion, and humility. Man, if we're going to write something down this morning, if we're going to carry something away, it isn't actually what he did. It was who he was. I want to be a man of faith. I want to be a man of compassion. And I want to be a man of humility. Because if you do not, you will never be able to stay on that wall. What I'm sharing in the beginning, you can feel that, but you'll never be able to stay on a wall. You'll never complete God's work. You'll never be able to handle the dissenters if you don't learn. It's time to stop complaining about our circumstances and embrace the learning curve of our circumstances. We're going to close in worship. I didn't even get a chance to share with you about the wall. Do you know what Nehemiah did? What he was empowered to do at this moment with the wall? Let me share this with you. The wall was 2.4 miles long, 39 feet high, 8 feet thick, with 34 watchtowers, 7 main gates with some other gates, and in 52 days, he led carpenters, perfume makers, priests, moms, dads, and children to stand side by side to build a wall. No one could have ever done that, but he was prepared to do it. What's God preparing you to do today? Let's worship this morning as we close.